Since 2020, with the release of the next-gen consoles, there have been rumors floating around about a Switch Pro releasing sometime in the future. It would have updated specs, 4K resolution, updated design, better controllers, an Ethernet port, better frame rate, more storage. Well, at least it was half true. The Switch OLED, or OLED, released on October 8th, 2021 too. Reception? Yeah, the OLED just didn't live up to the leak's expectation of a Switch Pro. But first, let's go over the pros of the OLED. It comes in a very unique looking box compared to the more traditional rectangle shaped box most systems come in. It's like if you switch the X and Y dimensions. It's pretty cool. Now the biggest upgrade of course is the bigger and brighter screen. It's a whopping 7 inches while the original Switch is only 6.2 inches. Which doesn't seem that much bigger, but when you're holding it in your hands you can really feel the difference. And as you can see, the OLED screen is way brighter and crisper than the LCD screen of the original. In these side by side you can really see the difference between the screens. The OLEDs are just so much better. Another upgrade feature is the stand. Now Nintendo took a risk and decided to make it not absolutely terrible. Instead of having a toothpick attached with scotch tape as a kickstand, the OLED now has a wider and much better stand, which is a great addition. There's also a built-in LAN port so you don't need an adapter, 64 gigabytes of internal storage instead of 32, and a better speaker in handheld mode. Have a listen. The new updated design looks a lot sleeker and rounded. I definitely like it more than the OG Switch design. It looks so futuristic. And the white OLED almost looks like a Wi-Fi router. The OLED dock is also slightly wider to fit the wider Switch and has a different logo on the front. Unfortunately, the back is harder to open and the OG design is way better. The wrist straps are also slightly different with black and white strings. I know, right? Definitely worth the extra $90. Even the UI looks slightly better. Just kidding, it looks the same as the OG. Yeah, they did not change anything with the UI. The OLED both changed a lot and didn't really at the same time. Okay, now for the cons. Now, like I said before, it isn't all good with the Switch. For the extra $90, you really should get more with this revision. The Joy-Cons aren't any different, there isn't updated specs, and aside from 32 extra gigabytes of extra storage, that isn't enough. You still need a micro SD card to play all your games. The specs are the exact same. It still runs the same and is still 1080p on TV and 720p on handheld, and maxes out at 60 FPS. If they upgraded 1080p 120 FPS for TV and then 1080p 60 FPS for handheld, that would have been reasonable. The Switch OLED even comes with an HDMI 2.0, which means it can support 4K 120 FPS. This is a dumb move by Nintendo because if they actually updated the specs even a little bit, it would have incentivized existing Switch users to upgrade, but most of them aren't going to pay another $350 just to move all their games and data just for the OLED. I said most. And on top of that, there's still potential Joy-Con drift, the inside is still plastic, the battery isn't even improved, and there is 2 USB ports now instead of 3. Like, come on Nintendo, what are you, Apple? So what's the verdict? Personally, the OG Switch is perfectly fine to have if you don't already have it. But if you're not part of the 107 million people who don't already have a Switch, and you're going to play in handheld mode a lot, definitely pick up the OLED for its original price. But if you already have a Switch, there's no need to upgrade. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why'd you buy a Switch OLED if you already have a Switch? That was dumb. Well, I bet you weren't expecting a third Switch, dumbass!